The draft is in Chicago. You now have 2 first-round draft picks. From the draft standpoint, how do you see the St. Louis Blues approaching this year's entry draft?
Well, we are considering moving up. We've talked to some teams that are in an area where they think they might want to move back and grab either 2 firsts or one of our first and our second-round pick, depending on how far we move up. There's a couple of players that we have our eye on. If they're there at a certain time, we'll start making phone calls. We're excited about picks 20 and 27 and 51. We think we're going to get good players there, but if there's a way to move up and get a player of real, we deem of real value, we'll do that, or we'll just select. I don't see us moving these picks for current NHL players now. I see us moving them for either transitioning in the draft at some point or just selecting.
Depending on the different articles fans may read, from different people projecting the draft, there's different opinions in terms of the depth of the draft, the quality of the draft. When you guys look at this upcoming draft overall, how do you assess it?
It doesn't have the Crosby, Ovechkin, Matthews type player at the top end, but we're excited. I think when you get into the areas that we're talking about, you're looking at probably a 6 through 9 forward. Or a 3, 4, 5 defenseman. Very certainly players that you need on your roster. It doesn't look like it has the depth maybe of Robbie Fabry's draft where that was just deep. You might get a guy that could fit in your top 6 at that point. Now, with that being said, someone's going to outperform this draft. They always do. It could be someone that in that late first round or the 4th round. There's going to be a great player coming from this draft, and our job is to try and find one of them.
What is the process that the St. Louis Blues use to prepare for the draft?
Well, obviously we have our amateur scouts. We'll start at the Ivan Holinka tournament, which is in August for the 18-year-old draft-eligible players, and they'll go through that process throughout the year. We'll have meetings throughout the year, and then we just finished the NHL Combine, had our amateur meetings, and now we'll have conference calls every few days just to verify our list, doing a little bit more homework now. There's no hockey being played. The Memorial Cup's over now, so the skill part of the draft is done. Now we continue to dig in to the psychological part of it on the makeup of the players, and you end up using really every second up until the draft to try and gain as much information as possible.
Are your debates as an organization done by the time you hit that draft table on draft day, or do they continue all the way up to a pick?
Usually they're done, but when you have 2 picks like we have, our second pick could change a little bit from what we take in the first with our first pick. So if you take a certain style of player, you might take a guy underneath the next guy on your list because it fits more of what you're looking for, and so it's always fluid. But our list is usually our list, and very rarely do we vary from that.
Do you have a favorite draft day moment of all the years you've been in hockey?
Yeah, I would say the one is when we got Tarasenko. I think that Jarmo's group had done a very nice job of drafting defensemen, but we had drafted, I think, 3 right-handed defensemen in 3 or 4 years, all wanting to play the power play, all wanting the same spot. So Rundblad was a player that I think had set records in the Swedish Elite League at his age. So he was a player that we felt we would keep Eric and keep Alex and make him available. And Vladdy was a guy that we wanted to try and get, and I think we viewed him as maybe a top 5 or 6 talent in the draft, but the Russian factor was in play at that point, and so we were able to acquire him, and that worked out well for the Blues that day and to this day.
Kind of cool to look back and realize Schwartz and Tarasenko picked just 2 picks apart.
Yeah, you look at the draft and you look at other teams that had multiple picks, and it's amazing what a draft can do for a franchise, a positive or a negative way.